Welcome to information about the Spring 2021 Michigan SAT with Essay, PSAT 10, and PSAT 8-9 for grades 8 and 9. The SAT with Essay will be one part of the Michigan Merit Exam, which is required for 11th graders and eligible 12th graders. Students testing in a standard room will be required to test on a single day, which is April 13th. The makeup test day is April 27th. A contingency date has been added. This should only be used for students who are not able to test on April 13th or April 27th due to COVID-related issues. This contingency test date is May 18th. Grade 8 students are expected to test on the primary test day of April 13th. Students absent on the primary test day can be flexibly scheduled to test in the primary testing window of April 13th through 16th. The makeup window is for any student who is absent during the primary testing window or for students that need to retest due to an irregularity. This has been extended for additional testing flexibility and is now April 27th through May 7th. Schools must use a survey to request makeup test books for PSAT 8-9. Different test books will be used in the primary testing window and the makeup testing window for standard test takers. Grade 8 test books for the primary testing window will have a circle on the cover, while grade 8 test books for the makeup testing window will have a crescent on the cover. Unless absent, students taking the PSAT 10 or PSAT 8-9 for grade 9 are expected to test on a primary test day that is chosen within a primary testing window of April 13th through 16th. Schools can choose which date within the window that works best for them as the primary test day. Schools can elect to administer the test to 9th graders on one day, 10th graders on the other day, or test both grades on the same day. The remaining days in the primary testing window can be used for students absent on the primary test day. The makeup window is for any student who is absent during the primary testing window or for students that need to retest due to an irregularity. This has been extended for additional testing flexibility and is now April 27th through May 7th. Schools must use a survey to request makeup test books for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. Different test books will be used in the primary testing window and the makeup testing window for standard test takers. Grade 9 test books for the primary testing window will have a star on the cover, while grade 9 test books for the makeup testing window will have a crescent on the cover. Grade 10 test books for the primary testing window will have a triangle on the cover, while grade 10 test books for the makeup testing window will have a square on the cover. The accommodated testing window for SAT is April 13th through 26th. Students with approved accommodations taking the SAT with Essay, as designated on the non-standard administration report in SSD Online, can flexibly be scheduled anytime in the accommodated testing window. Students absent during this window due to COVID-related issues or who experience an irregularity and need to take a makeup can test in an additional makeup accommodated window of April 27th through 29th. Students absent during the makeup accommodated window can test during the contingency accommodated window of May 18th through 20th. The accommodated testing window for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 is April 13th through May 7th. All students with approved accommodations taking the PSAT 8-9 for 8th or 9th grade and the PSAT 10 can flexibly be scheduled anytime in the accommodated testing window. The accommodated testing window has been extended for additional flexibility. Students will use the test books from the primary testing window throughout the accommodated testing window. Makeup materials will not be ordered for these students. For additional flexibility, schools can provide flexible starting times without College Board approval to do so. All groups must begin testing before the first group finishes to maintain test security. Even though cell phone collection is typically at the school's discretion, cell phone collection is required for the duration of the school day for all students testing, or at least until after the last group has started testing if you decide to stagger your start times. Testing must start early enough to finish before school ends. You may also offer extended breaks. Local health and safety guidelines may require that only a limited number of students may access the restroom or hallways at a time. In such cases, you may elect to double the time of scheduled breaks, including accommodated breaks, to ensure that students can access the restroom or hallway in an orderly fashion. Hall monitors should help ensure that students do not share any test content if they leave the room and that students re-enter their assigned testing rooms in a safe way. If extended breaks are provided, they must be provided to all students. PPE or personal protection equipment will be allowed during testing and includes items such as the use of masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer during testing. The use of PPE should follow local guidance. Test coordinators or proctors must check students' PPE prior to testing to ensure that nothing has been written on the PPE or prohibited materials have been hidden within the PPE. Spacing of students should also follow local guidelines. College Board requires a minimum of 3 feet from center of desk to center of desk. However, if local guidance indicates that students must be 6 feet apart, schools should seat students 6 feet apart during testing. Off-site testing is allowed if you need more space to administer the test. Requests to test at an off-site location are required for spring of 2021 testing. You can submit those requests at sat.org/offsite request. Although the deadline to submit a plan was December 18th, we will accept late plans as necessary for schools that need to reconfigure their testing environment. More information is available in the spring 2021 contingency test dates and flexibility options for SAT with essay, PSAT 10, and PSAT 8-9 school day testing document from the Michigan Department of Education, available on their websites. As a reminder, do not place orders directly in the College Board test ordering site for the spring 2021 Michigan provided assessments. College Board will determine your initial material order for the assessments based on the number of students pre-ID'd to test in the secure site and the number of students approved for accommodations in College Board's SSD online system. If students are not pre-ID'd by February 17th, you may not receive enough test materials and labels for test day. MDE requires training each year for test coordinators. This includes the assessment security training provided by OEAA. Review the overview of test security chapter of the MDE Assessment Coordinator Training Guide for guidelines on how to access this training. They also require the online training provided by College Board. Completion of training for fall 2020 testing does not count for spring of 2021. There will be one Michigan training module that covers all the assessments. Coordinators will receive an email with a link to access the online training the week of March 1st. This will take approximately 45 to 60 minutes to complete and will be broken up in modules. Test coordinators are then required to train other test day staff in some way. Test coordinators could use staff meetings, for example, to train all staff, or could provide the following options. To train your proctors, one option is to forward the College Board training email. There is a module specifically for proctors and how to administer the test, and will take approximately 20 to 30 minutes to complete. To train your hall and room monitors, a PowerPoint will be available on the MDE web pages to provide to your monitors. And to train your SSD coordinators, one option is for them to take the test coordinator training or the proctor training, depending on his or her test day role. Review the overview of test security chapter of the MDE Assessment Coordinator Training Guide for guidelines on assessment security training for other test day staff. College Board will provide a Michigan-specific manual for the SAT with essay, PSAT 10, and PSAT 8-9. Schools can use the same PSAT 8-9 manual, both for 8th and 9th grades. The SAT manuals provide specialized information to each type of test day staff. The coordinator manual will include information about test day setup, pre-administration session, forms, and the return of materials. The standard testing manual includes all test day scripts and information needed by proctors using standard timing. And then the accommodated testing manual includes test day scripts for proctors and accommodated rooms. The PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 coordinator manuals include information for the coordinator and the scripts for proctors. Please do not use any fall 2020 manuals during spring of 2021 testing. All accommodations for the Michigan provided assessments this spring must have prior approval and be requested through the College Board SSD online system. Most requests are approved automatically within a few days and require no submission of documentation. There are some requests that will require that documentation be submitted and could take up to 7 weeks for review. Schools should designate an SSD coordinator that has access to SSD Online and submits requests on behalf of students. Schools can have multiple SSD coordinators to submit requests as necessary. Requests must be submitted by February 22nd. For more information about College Board accommodations, review the Accommodations and Supports webinar posted on the MDE web pages. The expected delivery of your test materials will be the week of March 22nd. All shipments will be addressed to the test coordinator of that assessment. Test materials must be stored securely once delivered. Check the contents of boxes within 24 hours of delivery using packing lists. Contact College Board immediately if there's a problem with your shipment. Check your materials periodically until test day, and again, contact College Board immediately if materials show evidence of tampering. Coordinators will receive emails about material shipments, but please note, coordinators may receive the email before the item is actually shipped from UPS. Those tracking numbers in the email will become valid once UPS has shipped the package. Tracking numbers will also be made available in the secure site. See michigan.gov/secure site training for more information. We will also support an additional material order window in the secure site from March 23rd to April 6th. This allows schools to order standard test materials for students who are newly enrolled at the school and were not initially pre-ID'd during the window. More details will be available in Spotlight as we get closer to the opening of this window. 8th and 9th graders cannot test together. Keep test books for each grade separated as you sort and prepare materials for testing. Grade 8 test books for the primary testing window and accommodated testing window will have a circle on the cover, while grade 9 test books for the primary testing window and accommodated testing window will have a star on the cover. Plan for approximately 5 hours on test day for the SAT with essay. The schedule below does not include passing out multiple choice test booklets or other test day administrative activities. Plan for approximately 3 hours for PSAT 8-9 and 3.5 hours for PSAT 10 to account for test day administrative activities, testing, and break times. The schedule below does not include passing out and collecting test booklets or other test day administrative activities. And again, 8th and 9th graders cannot test together. Students who are under the age of 18 and are participating in the Michigan-provided SAT with Essay or PSAT 10 will need parental consent to opt into the Student Search Service and to complete the optional questionnaire. For additional information on Student Search Service, see the document on the MME web pages. Schools should gather parental consent in accordance with their district policy. The SAT Suite of Assessments Participation in College Planning Options Consent Form is available on the Michigan Department of Education's web pages for schools to use if they choose. Consent forms should remain at the school for 3 years and do not need to be returned to College Board. Consent only needs to be obtained once. The tasks of the pre-administration session include bubbling on all of their required information for scoring, allowing students to opt into Student Search Service and complete the optional questionnaire, and identifying where the students' 4 free score reports are to be sent. While scheduling a pre-administration session for SAT with Essay, PSAT 10, and PSAT 8-9 prior to test day is always optional, it is highly recommended. All parts of the pre-administration session can be done on test day if needed. If you choose to hold a pre-administration session, prior to conducting the session, pass out a copy of the applicable student guide to each student. Student guides provide information about the test and explains how student data is used. If you choose not to hold a pre-administration session, ensure students have a copy prior to test day. Students may now opt into Student Search Service and complete the online questionnaire outside of school day testing. Schools must notify parents if students are encouraged by the school to complete this process online. A College Board flyer is available on the MDE web pages for information to provide to your parents. Districts and schools can also find additional guidance on the parental consent from the U.S. Department of Education on the MDE web pages. Students who complete the optional questionnaire and opt into Student Search Service online must still bubble in all of their required information for scoring on their answer sheet. To prepare for the pre-administration session, affix pre-ID labels to the front of the student answer sheets. Identify which students have parental consent to complete the optional questionnaire and opt into Student Search Service. Students will use copies of the SAT School Day or PSAT 10 student answer sheet instructions during the session. We estimate this will take about 45 to 60 minutes of students to complete the questionnaire for SAT and 25 to 35 minutes of students complete the questionnaire for PSAT 10. Students can send their SAT scores to colleges, universities, and scholarship programs by bubbling codes on their answer sheet. The student answer sheet instructions have the list of codes. Students do not need parental consent to submit their score sends. All students taking the SAT should be encouraged to complete this portion on their answer sheet. If students complete the online questionnaire, they will still need to identify their score sends on their answer sheet. Students will not complete any optional questions for PSAT 8-9. They will only bubble in the required elements on their answer sheet. No consent is necessary since students are not completing any optional questions. Student answer sheet instructions are therefore not necessary and will not be sent. Schools can determine if the required bubbling needs to occur prior to test day during a pre-administration session or can be completed on test day. If issues arise on test day, use the Irregularity Report, or IR, to record information about security incidents, student misconduct, test question errors or ambiguities, or mistiming. The irregularity chart in the back of the manuals will indicate whether an IR is required to be submitted. Please do not guess as to what action to take. Follow the directions in the irregularity chart so that student scores are not jeopardized. Make sure reports are complete and explicit. Irregularities filed by proctors must be countersigned by the test coordinator, who should add any information that may be useful. Keep a copy of any IRs submitted should College Board require additional information during the review. They will also be useful when completing your makeup material requests. Check the after the test section of your coordinator manual for this chart that outlines which materials you should keep, which you should return, and which should be destroyed. When you return your SAT with essay materials, you will have 3 opportunities to return materials. The first return is for all test books and used answer sheets for all students who finish testing on April 13th. You should schedule this no later than April 14th. Your second return is for test books and used answer sheets for any students who finish testing in the accommodated window. You should schedule this once all students who are eligible to test in the window have completed testing. And your third return is for test books and used answer sheets for all students who test on the April 27th makeup date. You should schedule this no later than April 28th. Returns for the additional makeup dates will be available in the Spotlight online newsletter in April. For your PSAT related returns, you'll again have 3 opportunities to return your materials. Your first return is for test books and used answer sheets for all students who finish testing in the primary testing window. You should schedule this once all students have finished testing, but no later than April 17th. Your second return is for test books and used answer sheets for any students who finish testing in the accommodated window. You should schedule this once all students who are eligible to test in the window have completed testing, but no later than May 10th. Your third return is for test books and answer sheets for all students who test during the makeup testing window. You should schedule this once all students have finished testing, but no later than May 10th. Test coordinators will receive an email the week of test day to order makeup materials. The email will contain a link to a survey to assist in determining if makeup materials are needed. There will be a separate survey for SAT, one for PSAT 10, one for PSAT 8-9 for grade 9, and one for PSAT 8-9 for grade 8. Coordinators must respond for each assessment. Please respond to the survey even if you don't need materials so that we can accurately track responses. The deadline to respond to these surveys will be April 15th. Student scores will likely be released to their College Board accounts in May. Scores will be released to educators via the College Board K-12 score reporting portal based on school verification and appeals made during the answer document verification window in the secure site. This will likely occur in mid to late June. No changes can be made for students in the K-12 score reporting portal once the answer document verification window activities are complete. The PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 are no longer disclosed forms. That means that questions and answer choices will not be available in the reporting portal for PSAT 10 or PSAT 8-9. Questions and answer choices, however, will still be available for the SAT with essay. Educators can access the College Board SAT Suite Test Bank to access over 3,500 sample test questions for the PSAT-related assessments and SAT. Thank you for your time today. If you have any additional questions, please use the resources located on your screen.